Okay guys, thanks for bearing with me over the last two videos. I've been really struggling with trying to do what I thought was something really simple, which was to change these first three eighth notes into quarter notes. Okay? I couldn't figure out any way to do it. Every time I grabbed the note for editing, it snaps back, and I looked all around. Then finally I found the answer. And it's under this default. It says note length options. Okay, so right click on that, and what we want is we want these notes to be quarter notes, right? So select quarter, and boom, they become quarter notes. Okay, now notice there's no variation applied. Okay, but uh, it's also it made some change over here. Let's hear what we've got here. Okay, that's what we wanted in bar 1. Actually, that sounds great. I mean, that's really exactly what I wanted. Okay, so what happens is if we go back to default, okay, let's take a look at bar 3. Okay, we know what happens at bar 1. These 3/8 get changed to quarters. Okay, now interestingly, these 2/8 don't. So what's the logic with that? Okay, because not all the notes are being converted into quarters. Well, I think the logic is that if you've got 2/8, the default length setting is not going to override two notes. In other words, it's not going to delete a note and then turn one of them into a quarter note. It looks like what it's doing, it's kind of like if there's room, in other words, if there's a rest after a note, if it's an eighth note or 16th, and there's a rest, it's going to make it into a quarter. And we can test that by shortening. Now we were able to shorten this eighth into a 16th, so let's do that. Okay, so now if we apply, yeah, the default, see that? So the 16th is becoming a quarter. Okay, and if we change this back to eighth notes, we're back to where we were before, which is what we were trying to change. Okay, so so that's what's going on. It's this setting here. Now, what if we hit legato? Okay, so what that's going to do is to lengthen any note. If there's a rest between two notes, it's going to lengthen the first note so that it touches the next note. Okay, we legato is that's a function you see in most of the DAWs. They have that. Uh, then the default, not really sure what the default is referring to, but in any event, now if we change it to sixteenths, then we can see all these eighth notes are becoming sixteenths. Likewise here, because there's no spatial problem for these notes to become sixteenths. It's doing a lot of changes to the whole motive there, but anyway, let's not get too complicated. Let's just go back to a quarter, because that's essentially what we wanted. Now, suppose we wanted to, wait a minute, let's go back to where we were, which is default. Suppose we want to keep, I kind of like these eighth notes here. I kind of like that kind of choppy melody in bar 3. Let's listen to it. I don't like the choppiness in bar 1, but the choppiness in bar 3 works because we have 4 of the same notes, and so not having them run together I think is more musical. We have 4 Ds in a row, and it sounds nicer when they're kind of at least separated. Otherwise they're running into each other. It sounds like it gets to be monotonous. It's almost like having just one long D, and that's monotonous. So it's kind of that staccato D, 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 D. So our rhythm there is dot, 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 right? Okay. So I like that. So if we, maybe what we can do, we'll make it quarter, and then maybe we can, I was going to say shorten these. No, cannot do that. Because as soon as we put the pencil over that area, they go back to being 8s. Okay. Maybe that's just a tweak we have to make in when we do the drag MIDI. Okay. But in any event, I think we learned something there with this the note length options. Let's go back to legato. No, that's not gonna work. And interestingly, we can change the length of these, but we don't actually want to. So we're changing the length of those 8th notes, but we couldn't change the length of these 8th notes. That's a curious thing, right? Yeah, we can't lengthen that 8th note, but we can lengthen this one. Go figure. Okay, in any event, we'll just do quarter notes there, and there we are. Okay, all right. I think we've kind of gotten a better handle on this. And now we see that there's an option for note length that we can play around with. Okay, all right. See you in the next video.